Just a small comment. Professor Uday Narayan Singh mentioned this morning art of noise, but he did not mention that if there are too many artists, there will be a chaos. So I can see there's a lot of noise in front of this panel, as well as at the back of this panel, and there are two different kind of noises. So please bear with us with this chaotic situation. So you have to ask your question at the Saptam Swar to be heard by all.
Yeah. I have one question to both of the madams, those who have presented their paper. That is about the use of scripts by the minority languages groups. How, and it is found that in the minority language groups, the first literate people are the protagonist of, the initiator of creating scripts and orthography. So, but interestingly, there is a dilemma between this. If Santali is used in Olchiki, then it becomes a limited group. Others are not using that scripts. In that case, how the community is looking at those new scripts, or are they comfortable with the state-driven scripts?
Yes, the point is a very important, valid point. Now, as you said, if you restrict to one group, then what will happen to the others? I would again say that should be left to the community and to the state government also, because it's not that a group has chosen a language, a script, a language has chosen a script, that is enough. It has to be implemented. Where will they use the script or orthography? They'll be using it in school, mass media and administration for that purpose only. People can write in any script, like as we write our SMSs, Maithili language but Roman script, Bangla language but Roman script, so they can manage. So that becomes a burdensome thing for the state government and other agencies. So both should be kept in mind, and then a solution, working with the community and then think about it. There can be 2-3 alternative scripts, and we need a bigger seminar, and where invite the community people and educate them also, discuss with them that one script can be used for many languages and vice versa, and give examples like Roman and other things. So that can be dealt with at a different level.
I have a couple of short remarks if you want to react to that. One to Kavita ji and one to Avitesh ji. To Kavita ji, what I wanted to say is probably it would be nice if the Varnamala that you have created, if you see people using that in digital domain. I don't know how much they have access to computers and all. It would be sort of nice, because then the alphabet will also get spreaded, and a lot of people will also, you know, they sort of give comments and stuff like that. So it can spread, the Varnamala itself can spread if you get to see more and more in the digital domain. And to Avitesh ji, see, we learned IPA in our master's program when we are already adult, and you know, perhaps learning becomes difficult as we grow. So I was wondering, the way you have represented the Galo script, that they have adopted certain IPA symbols. I was wondering if at all for these unwritten languages, if we, since we are talking about creating scripts, if at all we can adopt some symbols which can be easy for the children to learn, and once the sounds can directly correspond the script, it will be really helpful and effective.
See what happens. First of all, I disagree with Madam Kavita has said that one sound, one letter. That is not a very good idea, and even Roman doesn't do that. And whatever you do, there will be some discrepancy. So no script can be perfect for that. Why I was mentioning the Galo script is that in Arunachal, you see that there are other languages like Adi, Nishi, even Khamti have started the Roman script. So if it were similar, then that will benefit them. Just because they didn't want to look like the other languages, Adi or Nishi, especially they didn't want to sound Adi-ish. That's why some new symbols have been given. Although Adi Roman also has problem. In Adi language they don't have voiced aspirates. But in the Roman script, they have BH, DH, GS symbols are there. So those problems are there. So they could sit together and have, I personally oppose or don't like there's so many diacritic marks. Ultimately, it has to go to the technology part. You have to develop keyboard, computer, write, and many other aspects. So that becomes very cumbersome for a language to deal with. And in the past, we have examples. They don't go for so many, say, diacritic marks. So just somebody has told these communities, linguistic communities, that one sound, one letter must be there. So they are guided by that. So that needs to be clarified, and this situation will change.
Just a note of caution that when we are talking about unwritten languages, invariably we subsume under unwritten languages even the non-dialects or even the non-tribal languages. This is the kind of we subsume them. Now, coming from this kind of maybe by default this assumption, see, I have a conviction. I mean, we all know that there is no inherent organic relationship between a language and a script. We all know this thing. However, the empirical reality is that there is one, and people do attribute script with certain social factors. Perhaps when we talk about the script, we need to really go into the finer details of this kind of subtleties that are involved in that. Thank you very much.
I want to make the clarification regarding Professor Bihari's. What I am saying is that what I have taken here, these are based on the documentation, and the books which are written in their language, not the thesis, not the written in the English. My data based on the publication of TRI, Tribal Research Institute, not the oral and the verbal like that is.
Having a small question, could you just tell us how many sounds? Hello, yeah. How many sounds and diacritics were there in that Roman script for Northeast languages?
Oh no, you can see it later. I have the Roman for all the Northeastern languages. You can have many. Some like it will go to about 300. Like Mizo uses the dot beneath T, D because they have retroflex. Comb uses it. Then you will find at the rate of that symbol for in Adi, short A, then long A, double at the rate of. So things like that, they run into hundreds.
And they are for tones, right? So far as I get
So what I am saying is, let's see if Mizo, Khasi, and many languages, they have very rich literature, and they have been in education for longer than many other languages. And Roman itself, English or say French, they could manage with only fewer number of letters. Then we can also work with those many letters. It's not necessary that you mark tone, because when you are writing, tone is not important, except for one or two cases. The speakers will know. The Chinese doesn't mark tone. Okay? Or there are many other languages, even Thai, they don't, when they write it, they don't necessarily use diacritic marks there. So when you speak it, the native speaker will know. So that point I should have mentioned, that one thing that people don't realize, the linguistic communities, the minor tribal language speakers, they have, as Professor Hasnan rightly pointed out, now people think language means script. They don't care for other things. That has developed in recent times. But the thing is, if a child or any person is fluent in his or her mother tongue, if they can speak it, if they are taught script, they can read, write, and there will be no problem. Like I tell you my own example quickly, I never learned how to write Bengali or Assamese script, and I'm not fluent in Assamese. I can't create even 2 sentences, but I can read in Assamese. Even the book or newspaper is kept upside down and fluently. I can translate, but I do not know how to write Assamese. I never learned Bengali. So what is happening? Because I'm fluent in, say, my comprehension is as much is good. So script I guessed and I can read it, and it's similar to Devanagari. So my spoken variety doesn't influence it. My spoken Bengali doesn't have anything to do with it. So that way, if you are fluent in oral language, the scripts don't create problem. So that should be kept in mind for Roman, for these languages.
Okay, final remark. Do you think can we add a combination of sounds instead of the diacritics for tones?
You see, the issue of diacritics is not only for tones. He already mentioned it, perhaps you missed it. Even for retroflex sounds in Galo and other, people are using meso and comb. But even for Kasi is non-tonal, but they do have some diacritics. Garo is like, old Garo used to have tones, minimal tones. But then it's not just for tones. And in some tonal languages, tone is not even marked. So there is this problem of so-called linguistic and orthographic gaps are there. What linguists think like tones must be marked, or sometimes low tones in some languages like Dimas are left unmarked. And how do you distinguish between a low tone and a mid tone? So there are issues like that. But so diacritics are not just for tones, for any sound which, but again, there is no uniformity among even the same group of, subgroup of languages. Like not all Bodo-Garo languages will follow uniform Roman orthography. So it's again going back to what my colleague just said, no? It's again the native speaker and the community, and there are a lot of other social, religious, so many factors which play a role to decide whether we should use this diacritic. Again, going back, it's a kind of a script identity crisis too. I should be different from Adis, I should be different from Garos, etc.
Just one quick example for your benefit. Look at Tamil. It has pa and then ma, nothing in between. And they have so much rich literature, classical language. So just 2 letters for 5 sounds. They have only ta and then na, nothing, yes. So if they can manage, so it's not difficult, because if you know the language, oral, then you learn it. Second language speakers also will learn it. I can pronounce all the Tamil sounds, but my mother tongue is Maithili, but I can do ra or param, I can do that very easily.
I thank all the people who have presented their papers, and also those who have participated in the discussion.
Thanks for coming and for your